My name is Isabel Reed. I'm 30 years old and I live in Flagstaff, Arizona, a place where winter always begins with snow on the windowsill and ends with warm dinners by the fireplace. But this year I woke up on Christmas morning to a completely empty house. No clinking cups, no laughter, no one calling me down for breakfast like every other year. The kitchen still held the faint smell of last night's cinnamon waffles. A few half-eaten plates sat in the sink, but the dining table had been abandoned. The garage door was wide open, the cars were gone, and not a single message had been left for me. 16 people. 4 SUVs. A 6-day trip that I planned, scheduled, and paid the entire deposit for, nearly $13,200. But they had left me behind. Not by accident, not by misunderstanding. It was a deliberate choice. My family has always been the more the merrier type. My parents, my maternal grandparents, my sister Hannah, my brother Lucas, 5 cousins, and a handful of spouses or fiancés. This year was the first time we added someone new. Hannah's fiancé, a lawyer named Graham, freshly inducted into the Golden Circle. Every holiday, I'm the one who organizes everything, choosing the destination, booking accommodations, creating packing lists, and preparing menus for the seafood allergic and the vegan alike. I even made a seating chart for the cars to avoid fights. The night before the trip, I stayed up past 1 in the morning, wrapping the kids' presents and preparing containers of hot cocoa for the road. I set my alarm for 6 a.m., planning to load the trunk and help Dad check the tires. But when I opened my eyes, the sun was already high, shining straight through my bedroom curtains. I bolted upright in a panic. The clock read 8:43. A strange unease crept through me. I called out, "Mom, Dad, Hannah." No answer. I ran into the hallway. The house was empty. Lucas's room was bare, his gray backpack and familiar gaming headset were gone. Hannah's room was stripped, bed made flat, her perfume still lingering in the air. Breakfast plates were still on the counter. They'd eaten before leaving. No one had woken me up. No note. No message. I rushed to the front door. On the wide driveway, only my crossover remained. The 3 SUVs and my grandparents' car were all gone. I stood barefoot in the freezing December air, unable to believe my eyes. I called my mother. She picked up after the 3rd ring. "Isabel, you're up?" Her voice light, as if nothing was wrong. "We thought you were riding with the kids." "Mom, I'm still at home. Everyone's already left?" A pause. Then I heard her cover the phone, whispering something to someone beside her. Her voice came back, more hesitant. "Oh, must have been a mix-up. Everyone thought you were in Ethan's car with the cousins." "No one double-checked?" I said through clenched teeth. "I told you all we needed a head count before leaving." Things were chaotic this morning. Everyone was in a rush. You know how it is. "Don't be upset. You can fly out later. We'll arrange someone to pick you up." I didn't respond. My mind was spinning. The cold outside couldn't match the chill in my chest. I hung up, ran back to my room, grabbed my phone. No messages from the family group chat. But when I opened social media, I saw Hannah had posted photos from a rest stop, everyone smiling wide, sandwiches in hand. The caption read, "Christmas has begun. 14 people, 4 cars, 1 unforgettable trip." 14 people. Add Grandma, Grandpa, and Graham. That's 17. Minus me. I wasn't in the photo, I wasn't on the trip, and I was no longer a part of that family. They may have forgotten to wake me up on Christmas morning, but they never forgot to call me when something needed cleaning up. I used to think it was just the role of the mature one among the chaos, but looking back, I was more like an unpaid employee than a real member of the family. From the time I was 16 until now, at 30, I was the one holding holiday gatherings together. When Lucas threw a tantrum and threatened to cancel Thanksgiving over mashed potatoes missing cheese, I remade the entire batch. When Grandpa and Dad fought over property disputes, I spent hours separating their words to resolve the conflict. And when Hannah had her breakdown because Graham disappeared for 3 months without a word and then came back with a ring, I sat beside her on the living room floor and said, "You don't have to say yes if you're not ready." The next day, she accepted the proposal. At the engagement party, she thanked my best friend Abby for always being there, I was sitting in the front row, not a glance, not a mention. Those moments used to hurt. Now they wake me up. I remember my 26th birthday. Dinner was strangely quiet. No cake, no balloons. Hannah said, "Everyone's really busy this year, sorry." But 1 week later, the entire family threw a grand birthday party for Lucas at his favorite Italian restaurant, with 18 guests and a cake that read, "To the most amazing young man." And me? I was the one who's always fine, the independent one. Don't worry about Isabel. She knows how to take care of herself. They were wrong. Knowing how to take care of yourself doesn't mean you don't need to be loved. One summer, I got sick. Fever spiked to 104 degrees, but I still sat at my computer rewriting the entire family camping itinerary because Aunt Clara accidentally booked a spot in Texas instead of Colorado. No one asked how I was feeling, just a text from Mom. "Did you fix it yet? Everyone's waiting to book their tickets." I can't recall the last time someone asked, "Are you okay?" But I can recall every time I quietly dipped into my savings to reserve cabins, buy theme park tickets for the kids, or pay for the group's dinner, because Uncle Martin's card didn't go through. And when I asked Dad for help with my aging Cocker Spaniel Finn's vet bill, my dog, since college, he just said, "Pets are the owner's responsibility." Right, but apparently I've been raising an entire family that refuses to take responsibility for themselves. I thought about last year when I took 3 days off work just to help Mom care for Grandpa in the ICU. Hannah never showed up, not once. But at the funeral, she held the mic and told heartwarming stories of fishing with Grandpa as if they were hers. After the service, I packed the memorial boxes, organized leftover food, and made sure relatives got home. She was called Grandpa's shining granddaughter. I used to think that if I stayed patient and kept giving, they'd one day recognize my worth. But when I saw that photo 14 people grinning from ear to ear on a trip I'd meticulously planned, paid for from my own account, with custom meal lists for vegans and kids with nut allergies, every illusion I held shattered. I wasn't invisible. I was being treated that way by people who had grown too comfortable with me always being the one to carry the load, smooth over the cracks, and quietly accept less. That's when I realized I'd spent my whole life serving a table I'd never been truly invited to sit at. I used to think I knew exactly how this family worked. Everything seemed spontaneous, but ran like a well-oiled machine. I planned, they enjoyed, and any problems were pinned on me. But I never imagined they were capable of organizing an actual scheme. About an hour after realizing I'd been left behind, I opened my laptop to search for flights to Aspen, still trying to believe something could be salvaged. But as soon as I logged into iMessage through iCloud, a sync window popped up. One unfamiliar folder stood out. Famtrip D23_backup. I knew this account had once been used to store family photos, birthday videos, and shared shopping lists, but Hannah had always been careless with her backup everything setting. And this time, she accidentally left something they never meant for me to see. I opened the messages. My hand trembled as the first line appeared. Lucas. "So it's settled. Leave at 7 a.m. Don't let her find out beforehand." Hannah. "Already told Mom." She's still hesitant, but I reassured her. "Isabel will think it's just a small hiccup. Graham, as long as we can still use the reservation, who cares? Canceling would ruin the whole vacation." Uncle Martin. "I don't want to hear one more complaint about schedules or side dishes this Christmas." I kept scrolling. A longer message came from my cousin Lily. "Lily, but who's bringing the check-in confirmation code?" Hannah. "Seriously? It gets sent to Isabel's email. We'll print it out early and destroy all the copies. She won't dare call the resort." Lucas. "Exactly. If she finds out she's been left behind, she'll make a scene." Graham. "Just say it was a misunderstanding. Worst case, buy her a cheap economy ticket and let her fly in later." I stopped. My eyes blurred, not from tears, but from fury, and the kind of humiliation that's hard to put into words. My entire family, the ones I had sacrificed so much to protect, had treated me like a walking wallet, a planner, a funder, a coordinator, then cut out at the very last second. No one asked if I wanted to be included. No one actually wanted me there, except to use my name for the booking and swipe my card. They had created a group chat without me to plan how to keep the vacation peaceful by excluding me as a nuisance. I clicked on the group info, family vibes, no Isabel. No shame, no encryption. They even named the group like some sort of public joke. In it, Hannah, Lucas, my parents, Ronald and Judith, Aunt Clara, Uncle Martin, Lily and her husband, and Graham. I scrolled down to the day they decided to cut me out. A message from Hannah, sent at 11:48 p.m., exactly 1 week ago. Hannah, I know it'll hurt, but it's necessary. Isabel is too rigid. She turns every vacation into a PowerPoint presentation. I don't want to feel like I'm attending a board meeting this year. Lucas, agreed. We all need to relax. No more being bossed around by Ms. Control Freak. Aunt Clara, I love her, but she doesn't know when to stop. Last year, she snapped at Mike just for calling her a chronically single auntie. It was just a joke. Graham, let's be real. We all know Isabel never actually pushes back. She'll forgive, like always. That line, that was exactly what they believed. That I would swallow it, accept it, fix it again. That I'd stay quiet for the sake of harmony. I closed the laptop. My whole body felt frozen, like every cell had just been slapped at once. But in that silence, a sound began to form. The sound of a decision. I wasn't going to save this trip. I wouldn't email them to remind them that the check-in code could still be revoked. And I sure as hell wouldn't hop on an economy flight just to sit in the corner of a dinner table like some uninvited guest. I grabbed a pen and paper and wrote down every name from that group chat. Then I marked 3. Lucas, Hannah, and Graham, the 3 ringleaders. I used to think I'd scream in their faces if I were ever betrayed like this, that I'd call each of them out, confront every cruel word they typed in that group chat, but sitting alone on the living room floor, weak light streaming through a snow-covered window, all I felt was emptiness. Not a single scream came out, only silence, sharp, merciless. I reopened the booking email for Everpine Ridge Resort, the Colorado getaway I had prepaid $13,200 for, using my personal card, 6 cabins, a cozy Christmas dinner, a custom menu, ski passes for the kids, a list I had spent 3 sleepless nights perfecting. I clicked Cancel Reservation. A pop-up appeared, no refunds within 72 hours, but I didn't back down. I called the number listed in the confirmation email. Everpine Ridge, this is Monica speaking. How can I assist you? Hi, this is Isabel Reed. I'm the primary on booking number EP 1190. I need to cancel the entire reservation, effective immediately. Monica hesitated. Historically, due to our peak season policy, we typically don't allow. My family deliberately used my card and then excluded me from this trip. They'll arrive tomorrow morning using check-in codes printed from my email. But I'm the one who paid, and I want it canceled. I'm willing to verify my identity and accept any processing fees. A few seconds of silence, then the sound of keys clicking, and a soft exhale. I'll transfer you to my supervisor. Please hold. 13 minutes of waiting felt like reliving all 30 years with them. But then a male voice came on, calm, courteous, and more empathetic than I'd expected. This is Patrick, Senior Reservations Supervisor. We've verified your payment details and, after reviewing the call, we've decided to issue a full refund to the original card within 3 to 5 business days. I clutched the phone. Thank you. One more thing. They're arriving tomorrow morning. Please just inform them that the booking holder has canceled everything. No further explanation needed. Patrick paused, then responded gently. We'll handle it professionally, and wishing you a peaceful holiday, even if it's not the usual kind. I hung up. It felt like pulling the pin from a grenade, but not to hurt anyone, to free myself from the bomb I'd been holding onto for far too long. 7 p.m. I reopened a tab I'd bookmarked months ago. Yoga and meditation retreat in Chiang Mai, Thailand. 1 week in a bamboo forest. No social media, no blinking lights, no one asking, "So, when are you settling down?" The round-trip ticket cost the exact amount I had mentally set aside in case my family refused to reimburse me, like every other year. I clicked book now. The flight would depart from Phoenix at 9:20 p.m. the next day, layover in Seoul, then straight to Chiang Mai. I didn't tell anyone, didn't post anything online, didn't leave a passive-aggressive message, just quietly packed. Only essentials: passport, yoga gear, a few books, and one letter I left on the kitchen counter, pinned under a sticky note that read, "Don't call me if the only time you remember me is when you need something." Before bed, I did one last thing. I scheduled an automatic email to everyone in the Family Vibes Know Isabel group chat. Attached was the cancellation receipt, confirmation of the refund, and one final message. I wasn't forgotten, I was excluded. And this time, I'm choosing to exclude myself from a family that only remembers me when there's a bill to be paid. The next morning, just as the sun rose over the snow-covered peaks of San Francisco Mountain, I locked my front door, wheeled my suitcase to the car, and didn't look back. I was no longer Isabel, the unpaid executive assistant in a festive apron. I was sitting at a small garden cafe inside Incheon International Airport, holding a warm cup of ginger tea, when my phone started buzzing non-stop. Not a single ringtone. I had turned on Do Not Disturb mode the night before, but notifications still popped up clearly across the lock screen. Mom is calling. 6 missed calls. Mucus, what the hell are you doing? Hannah, I can't believe you're acting like a child. Graham, so disappointed. Aunt Clara, we're all standing in the snowy parking lot. Explain, now. I gave a dry laugh. The flight to Chiang Mai was taking off in 3 hours. Meanwhile, those who had printed room codes from my email, confident they could enjoy the vacation under my name, had just been denied check-in by a clever front desk agent who simply said, "I'm sorry, but the reservation holder canceled everything and received a refund." A few minutes later, an email came in. Attached was a screenshot of the group Family Vibes Know Isabel, forwarded from the cloud backup account I still had access to. I had scheduled it to send automatically at exactly 8 a.m., right after I got the notification from the airline that my flight was confirmed to be on time. I opened a message from Mom. "Isabel, what is this? The resort says there's no booking and the receptionist said you canceled. Where are you?" Then came a photo. They were standing in the thick snow at Everpine Ridge, everyone's face twisted in frustration. Lucas was holding a cold pizza box. Hannah was clinging to Graham like she was enduring shame more than the cold. My mom, Judith, was on the phone, pointing toward a cabin with its doors shut. Behind them, the small wooden sign carved with Everpine's logo shimmered under the morning sun. Beautiful, like a dream. One they'd never set foot in again. They thought they could manipulate me forever just because I never reacted. They were wrong. Lucas messaged again. "Where are you? We planned this trip for months." I almost laughed. We? What plan? The plan to leave me behind? I didn't reply. No need. They didn't need me to figure out why they were in this mess, and I didn't need them to reaffirm my sanity. Then a message from Hannah popped up. She must have read through the full email attachment. "Isabel, I didn't mean to. Just wanted a peaceful Christmas. How could you do this to the whole family?" I typed something. Deleted it. Typed again. Let it sit. Finally, I sent just one line. "This is my first truly peaceful Christmas. No blame, no tears, no negotiation." 10 minutes later, Graham called. I still didn't pick up. And I imagined him standing somewhere in that snowy resort yard, freezing and regretful. The room keys didn't work. The group had nowhere to stay. The nearby hotels were fully booked for the holidays. The people who once saw me as a convenient family assistant now had to face a simple truth. Darkness doesn't stay around forever to absorb every mess they create. Last time I checked the home security app, I saw my dad, Ronald, storming into the garage, clearly fuming. but the front door wouldn't open. I had changed the locks the morning before I left. Beneath the doorknob was a printed note, handwritten in red ink. If I'm not welcome today, then don't expect a place tomorrow. I pictured them arguing in frustration at the resort, then driving back to Flagstaff in defeat. Back to the house they've long treated as their own, even though the deed is in my name, the sole heir from Grandma. They've never paid a cent in property taxes or maintenance. They've never asked if I wanted privacy. Everything was always for the family, except when the family was me. My phone kept buzzing. A text from Aunt Clara. "You're unbelievable. Your mother is crying from embarrassment. Do you even think about anyone but yourself?" I turned the phone off. The flight to Chiang Mai just appeared on the boarding soon screen. I stood up and pulled my suitcase. On the bench next to me, a middle-aged Canadian woman smiled as I closed my laptop. "Heading on vacation?" she asked kindly. I nodded. "Something like that. I'm going to find the part of me my family forgot." She smiled. "I did that once, back in 1986, and we left the cafe together." I walked straight toward the departure gate. Behind me, my phone screen stayed silent, and for the first time in many years, I felt no guilt, only freedom. I returned to Flagstaff on an early January afternoon, after 10 days of bamboo forests and morning rain in Chiang Mai. My skin was sun-kissed, my wrist still carried a sandalwood bead bracelet from the Doi Sutha monastery, and most importantly, my mind was no longer tethered to the noise of those who only valued my silence. But that peace didn't last more than 3 minutes after I stepped into the house. My father, Ronald, stood by the fireplace, arms crossed like I was some intruder. "Isabel, we need to talk." His voice was heavy. I said nothing, just walked into the kitchen and turned on the kettle. My mother sat at the dining table, gripping a cold cup of coffee. Hannah was there too, for whatever reason, but her purse on the table suggested she wasn't leaving anytime soon. I unwrapped my scarf, placed my phone on the table, then sat down. I need to talk too, and this time, no one interrupts me. If anyone does, I'll get up and end it right there. No one said a word. Good. This is my house. Grandma left it to me 6 years ago. Since then, I've paid every mortgage installment, every property tax maintenance fee, and even the roof repair bill last year that neither of you knew about. My mother opened her mouth, then froze when I looked straight at her. "You two always said, as long as we're family, we don't keep track of money. But you did keep track when you let me handle everything, then silently cut me out of the holiday. And let me remind you, both of you were in that No Isabel group chat." Ronald's face flushed. "That was a misunderstanding." "It wasn't. It was a choice. And here's mine. Starting next month, if you want to continue living in this house, I'll be charging market rent, $1,850 a month, not including electricity, water, gas, or internet." My mother turned pale. Hannah spoke up instead. "Are you threatening them? They're your parents, Isabel." "They're not the victims in this story, Hannah. I've read everyone's messages, and if you have any decency left, it's best not to interfere." The air turned heavy, but I didn't stop. "If you don't agree, you have 60 days to vacate. I'll help with some of the moving costs if needed, within reason. But support is no longer an obligation, it's a choice, and this time, it's mine." Ronald let out a mocking chuckle, the same kind I'd heard too often at tense family dinners. "You're gonna live alone in a 3-bedroom house? You think you'll be happier kicking your parents out?" I stood, walked to the filing cabinet by the window, and pulled out a folder. "I've listed the upstairs room on Airbnb starting February. It's fully booked through April. Tourists from Seattle, then Denver, and a small Canadian family want to rent the downstairs suite this spring. So, don't worry, the house will be filled with people who know how to respect others." My mother cried. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty watching her. "I used to protect you," she whispered. "I never thought you'd turn this cold." I looked at her, calm, steady. "You didn't protect me when you left me behind. You didn't protect me when you stayed silent while Hannah and Lucas said I ruined the holiday. You protected everyone's convenience, not the truth." I picked up my phone and opened the banking app. If you want to stay, the lease will be in your email within the hour. If I don't hear back in 7 days, I'll initiate a formal unlawful detainer process per Arizona state law. And I suggest you read the terms carefully, because this time, I won't let anyone take advantage of my kindness again. I turned and walked away, no consoling, no justifying. I had let them live freely in my house for far too long. Now it's time for me to live freely in it too. 3 days after that steel-cold kitchen conversation, my phone rang at 8 a.m. It wasn't Mom. It wasn't Hannah. It was Ben, my cousin, the only one not in that cruel family vibes, no Isabel group. Got a minute? He asked, voice awkward but sincere. I do, unless this is a peacekeeping mission for someone else. Ben chuckled, then paused for a few seconds. You know, I used to think you were just difficult, because everyone kept saying it. But after Christmas, I went back and read every message, every group photo, and I felt ashamed. I stayed silent for too long, and if you'll allow me, I'd like to apologize face to face. I invited him over that afternoon. He arrived on time with 2 cups of hot coffee and a box of ginger cookies. No theatrics, no fluff. I know I can't undo what happened, he said, meeting my eyes. But if you need someone to carry water, mop floors, or take out the trash during this family detox, I'm volunteering from day one. I smiled. Not out of forgiveness, just relief that someone finally showed up the right way. 3 days later, I heard the news. Graham Hannah's fiancé had called off the wedding. No official statement, just a blurry Instagram story from Graham's account, the engagement ring left on a marble countertop with the caption, "Some lessons arrive in silence, but they cut to the bone." Less than an hour later, I got an email from him. Still written like a lawyer, concise, polished, but with a softened tone. Isabel, I owe you an apology. I watched how your family treated you during the wedding planning, and this past Christmas was the final straw. I believed in a one-sided narrative and justified it with the word family. But family doesn't mean the right to hurt someone without consequence. I wish you peace and the strength you already carry. I didn't reply. No need. Word about the canceled wedding spread quickly among relatives. Aunt Clara called me for the first time since Christmas, not to apologize, just muttering vague lines about blood ties. I hung up as soon as she called it a small thing. Then there was Lucas, my younger brother, the loudest cheerleader for cutting me out of the holiday, who called me near midnight. Drunk, but not sloppy, just broken. I let them do that to you. And I joined in. You have no idea how it felt when the resort said, "Reservation canceled." I stood there in the snow, and everyone looked at me like I ruined Christmas. But really, they just needed someone to blame. And they chose me the second you were gone. I didn't respond right away. I wanted to hear more. They didn't know how to function without you. No one knew how to check in. No one tracked the road stops. Even the Christmas playlist was a mess. That's when I realized you weren't a control freak. You were the only one keeping things on track. A beat of silence. If the upstairs room is still available, I'd like to rent it. Not asking for a free pass. I'll pay my way. But more than that, I want to relearn how to be a brother to a sister I never really understood. I agreed, not because I trusted him yet, but because I believe in rebuilding boundaries fairly. Lucas moved in 2 weeks later. We didn't have dinner together every night, but some mornings I'd find coffee made for me before he left for work. Small, but a beginning. Hannah never called, never texted, but a plain envelope showed up in my mailbox. No sender name. Inside was a photo of us at age 9, hugging and laughing in the backyard bushes. On the back, written in pencil, maybe we forgot where we started, but I remember we used to be friends. I wasn't sure if it was an apology, but it didn't upset me. It only made me realize the past can't be erased, but it can be re-seen through a different lens. And that lens has to come from them. I don't need everyone to come back. I only need the ones who step forward with genuine kindness. No flowers, no cookies, no excuses, just footsteps, slow but honest. Spring always arrives late in Flagstaff, but this year, as the snow melted off the roof tiles and the maple trees sprouted their first green buds, I felt something shifting, not just outside the window, but inside me. I was no longer the Isabel from last Christmas, the one who bent over backward to please everyone, only to be left behind like forgotten luggage in a car trunk. Now, I stepped into each day with a new clarity. I got to choose who enters my life and who doesn't. I started with the simplest step, cutting off the invisible financial cords that used to tie me to the whole family. I canceled all the secondary credit cards my mom used to grab a few things for the house. I revoked access to the Netflix, Amazon, and Disney Plus accounts I'd been paying for, just to hear, well, she's already paying, might as well use it. I rewrote my entire personal budget. Before, family expenses took up nearly 20% of my monthly income. Now, I invested in a Tuesday evening photography class, a weekend meditation yoga course, and a private travel savings fund named For Isabel Only. I adjusted the house too. The downstairs, once treated by my parents as their default space, became a part-time Airbnb for international guests. I repainted the walls a deep olive, changed the curtains, and planted a row of lavender by the window. Every time a new guest checked in, I placed a small sign on the coffee table. Welcome to a space of peace. The upstairs, where Lucas rented, slowly became a symbol of a new kind of family. Imperfect, but trying. He paid rent on time, asked before rearranging furniture, and sometimes joined me in baking on Sundays. Not to make amends, but to start again. I began saying no firmly but not bitterly. No attending family gatherings unless I was properly invited, with words. No contributing to distant cousins' birthday funds just because everyone else is chipping in. No midnight calls from Hannah unless it was a real emergency, not about what Graham posted on LinkedIn. Old relationships shrank, but new ones bloomed. I met June, a 52-year-old woman who had left her husband and started over with a used bookstore downtown. We met in yoga class, and 2 months later, I became her part-time social media manager. The job wasn't glamorous, but it helped reconnect me to what it feels like to be respected. I also joined a local photography group. Every Saturday, we drove to canyons, lakes, or pine forests near Sedona to shoot sunrise photos. No one asked who I was dating. No one commented on my body or my achievements. Just light, lenses, and quiet. In early June, I received a handwritten letter from my grandmother, who had been living in a nursing home since a mild stroke last year. The handwriting was shaky but clear. My Isabel. I don't know what happened. Only fragments from visitors. But I want you to know I left you that house because I saw you look at life with eyes that love quietly. If someone couldn't see that, it's their loss, not yours. I held the letter while standing by the row of maple trees on the porch where I used to leash Finn, my little dog who passed away last year. The letter didn't change reality, but it was the first recognition I'd ever received from my family without strings attached. In mid-July, I hosted a small backyard dinner, just 6 people. Ben, Lucas, my yoga teacher, June, a friend from the photography class, and me. No frills, just grilled bread, roasted vegetables, and red wine. We strung up lights, played soft music, and shared stories of times we'd felt left behind. I'd never felt more seen, not because I pleased anyone, but because I dared to redraw the borders of my own life. I used to think forgiveness was something you give others. Now I understand. Forgiveness is when you stop hoping someone will become a version of themselves they simply cannot be, and stop hurting yourself for expecting it. And if someone were to ask me, "So, is Isabel happy now?" I'd smile, pour another glass of wine, and say, "Not exactly, but I chose peace." Isabel's story is a powerful reminder that real love doesn't come with conditions or a service role. In real life, many people struggle to maintain decaying relationships simply because of the word family. But sometimes, the bravest act isn't forgiveness, it's standing up, setting boundaries, and choosing yourself first. Because peace doesn't come from pleasing others, but from living in alignment with your own values, even if it means starting over with those who once called you family. What do you think about Isabel's choice? Would you have acted differently in her place? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow the channel for more powerful stories about family and life.